Welcome to another installation of Madlab's Madlab Radio, Madlab's podcast. This is Craig Patterson, Patty, aka the Pink Pig. Today we have one of my favorite humans on the planet, especially in fucking Texas, Tim Garland. So Tim has been with Madlab Group. It seems like a very long time. He started off as a coach in a facility and bought one, which is that's just truly unique. You don't see that in the industry very often, and it goes well. So introduce yourself, buddy.
Well, I said, Tim Garland down here in Austin, Texas. We have seen multiple generations of Madlab, and I started as a coach. I'd been coaching for years, and I was about to leave the gym before the previous owner introduced the Madlab system to us. Sold me on it, and I decided to give it a shot, stick around, and sink my teeth into it. And years later, here we are. We're on our 5th year of ownership. So,
wow, it's been that long since Wes left, eh? That's great. So, tell me, how long ago did you start coaching, and what did that kind of look like?
I started personal training in 2005. So one-on-ones, and I was in college at the time. So it wasn't like a full-time passion or kind of paying the bills. It was a part-time and just kind of learning. My degree path was exercise sports science with a minor in business, with the intention of going to physical therapy. But as I got into the one-on-one lifestyle, I enjoyed helping people prevent going to those things as best possible, and I just appreciated the personal aspect of that, and being able to see people wanting to improve themselves rather than coming in because they had to fix something that it was already broken.
Right. So preventative health care,
Yep.
Was actually more your focus than I'm going to be the baddest ass coach putting people in the NFL and stuff.
Right. Correct.
That's unique for a kid coming out of college.
Yeah, I had the opportunity when I was in college to be on the sports medicine team. So I learned some things from the athletic trainers and the physical therapists there, or at least maybe that kind of molded my mindset from an early stage. But
it's cool. You don't see that a lot. I wasn't actually aware of that before right now.
Yeah.
When I think of Tim, I think of the guy who's always got a smile, who's a winner, born to win, 3-time MVP of the summit.
Oh yeah,
co-MVP, or maybe you're the lead supporting actor a few times for your now
right.
wife.
That's right. Definitely leave that to her. She's the star.
Tell us a little bit about what it was like working before. So I take it you graduated, and after you graduated, what did you get? What was the first step?
So I done a few things. The one-on-one training was always there. It became more mobile and going to homes and kind of small teams. Actually had a group of teachers where I went to the school 4 times a week, and I got into soccer. I grew up a soccer player, but started coaching and had a year where I had the opportunity to step into a more of a coach as a strength and conditioning specialist, and did that. The coach halfway through the year got canned, and myself and another guy stepped in and kind of head coached that team. And we were blessed with some good players. One of the ladies was a Olympic development player, and we ended up losing in the semifinals to Penn State.
Wow.
In the national semifinals. So it was a good experience. Just finished out that year, and then got into a facility in San Antonio, Texas, that was just bought out and rebranded. It had been an athlete's performance facility. My second day in there, John Cena was in there throwing up nasty weight on muscle snatch. I'm like, okay, this is a cool spot. But all in all, just it ended up not being the fit for me and what I was hoping to do. Another guy that I'd gone to school with had opened a gym, and I hopped on his facility and started learning and learning some of the CrossFit ways back in 2000. This was all in between 2008, 2012. And
Was that
coached under
Wes?
him for
Was
a
that
bit.
Wes's gym, or is that pre-Wes?
That was pre-West. Yeah, that was a different gym south in between Austin and San Antonio.
Are they still
Uh,
around?
do what?
Are they still around?
They actually, yes, they merged with another gym, and they're still around. Actually,
Still with the CrossFit brand?
they are still with CrossFit brand.
Wow,
One,
amazing resiliency.
one of the few, yeah. That down here there are a few of them that weathered the storm, and one way or another. Don't know how they all did it individually, but there's a few around here still.
That might be a podcast trail for me to go around and find the ones that were around for more than 10 years and still using the brand. Like we went to the 10-year affiliate gathering up in Whistler a couple years ago. I really questioned why they were doing that, and I didn't want to go. And I'd been de-affiliated twice, I think. Just a little side note here, and Greg and I had a major fall. He was my mentor and one of my best friends, and a major falling out and lawsuits and all this stuff. And he threw that up there and then gave me an invite, and I didn't want to go. My whole team forced me to go to this thing, and I got there, and I didn't know what it was going to be, and you look around the room, they were all pretty much hobby gyms, or they were the only people in their gym. Like they were the only full-time people with a whole bunch of part-time staff. They looked completely burnt out. So, I mean, as far as I can see and tell, we were the only gym that had more than one coach making more than 50 grand a year out of all the whole big shitty mess.
Wow.
And I was just really struck with, okay, I'm not off base here in what I'm saying out there to the world, because there's just something kind of wrong with the model of running your gym. You're responsible for all the clients basically, and you outsource classes to part-timers, because no full-time person lasts in the thing, right?
It's you're doing multiple jobs. You're working full time in the gym and then full time on the gym. It makes it you're split, right? It's very hard to be laser focused and actually be truly effective.
Yeah. Well, let's keep on the timeline. We'll get right into all these things. So you're at that gym. How did you find Wes, or what was the road you got to Wes's gym?
So I was kind of into or getting into more of the competitive side. I was one of those that fell into it, loved it. I had played all sports growing up, and I was looking for something. Even though like what my focus was for training others, I needed an itch for my own athletic kind of endeavors. And so I went that route, and CrossFit Austin was putting teams into regionals and whatnot. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go see what this level's at and test my water there, or put my toes in the water. And came up here to train, started coaching, and then just kind of worked my way into the community and started coaching more, started personal training more, and really said, okay, this area is an area I like. I'm going to stick around. And like I said a second ago, almost left until he led us to the Madlab model and decided I can get behind that and to make a career out of this. I can see all the pieces. It's going to take some time, but I can see all the pieces and how they fit together, and I can swing that. So
tell me, what were you looking into? What future were you looking into before Madlab when you were coaching in this facility? What did life look like, and what would the future look like in your mind?
Yeah, I was at the time going to go into a smaller market, one of the surrounding areas, about 30, 40 miles outside of Austin, and just start a smaller personal training gym. Maybe model it after some kind of group class eventually, but the one-on-one kind of stuff was what I was going to focus on, because that's where kind of my passion was born from, in that one-on-one work.
Right. And what was wrong with what was going on in Wes's gym back then? I keep on saying Wes Kimball. He was the founder of CrossFit Austin. He was one of the first guys on the scene with this whole thing. Probably around 2005 or 6, right?
Yep.
And
he's been around for a long time. He actually started this one, or the brand of, in 2008.
So you're working at the gym. What's wrong?
I would say it was it was burnout for me personally. Like I could only do so many personal training hours, and our personal training rates were lower than what I was used to, because the clientele was looking for a different kind of a different atmosphere and a different level of service. So just turning the wheels there, and you can only coach so many classes. And the connection just wasn't there. Like I wasn't kind of responsible from the get-go, and guiding someone into a better mover, a better athlete, a better just overall healthier person, because they would get lost in the mix and go to different coaches, and there was no interaction, right, outside of like the fun social stuff and the mingling, but there was no coach to client really framework involved at all. So it was
you were getting paid. Sorry to interrupt. You were getting paid $1 per hour to run a class and a percentage for this personal training. Yep. And they could go anywhere they wanted. You didn't have any ownership.
Right. Absolutely.
Over the client itself.
And to that note, like I had an entrepreneurial spirit and wanted to scratch that itch, right? I was about to leave and start my own. And that kind of, when he introduced this to us, the Madlab model, that allowed me to scratch that itch as a coach. So,
what year was that now?
That was 2016 when we started.
Okay, so what is it you saw? Like, so you're sitting there and you're about to leave. You're fucking burnt out. You can't make enough money. It's not very satisfying because you're not really, these clients aren't yours. They're the gym's clients, and you get paid this percentage or $1 per hour. And, if they leave, whatever, you're still paid the same way and this kind of thing. So what did you see in the Madlab system when Wes presented to you that was like, oh, fuck, that's cool? Or what you said before, I could see a future. Tell me what that looked like.
Big things for me, you just said when they leave, still got paid the same. But when I left, I didn't get paid anything.
Right.
And so it was that kind of the balance, or the beginning of me seeing that path of saying, okay, I can work and build something that is sustainable and recurring. And then I can push the throttle or back off once I'm comfortable with where I'm at, right? If I feel like I'm spread too thin on one side, I can dial back and not have to take on as many clients. Or if I'm hungry and I want to go get it, I can push that throttle and build up to the next level. And so having the ability and having the ownership to grow and not be kind of capped at a level was really intriguing for me.
Had you done the math to figure out you could make at least double under the system than the old one?
Oh, yeah.
Same amount of hours? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny because we're redoing the whole JA program again for probably the 5th time after taking all the feedback and all the shit we fucked up again. And some of the feedback was, and when I first started using the system in 2006 and 7, and if a new coach came in and wanted to do this thing, or a client said, yeah, I would like to coach, I would sit on a whiteboard and I'd draw out how they could make $100,000 a year. I just simply show them that. And we stopped doing that at one point. So you're going to see some new stuff here around the math that you'll be able to send to your prospective coach and this kind of thing I've been playing with for about 6 months. And the other thing is that we really haven't published out there. You just touched upon it. In the old model, the model that's out there now, if a coach, let's say you're even a really good personal trainer, and let's say you're ripping along, doing a lot of personal training, and let's say you're even making 60% or even 70% of that, for that matter, and let's say you get yourself to $80,000 a year doing that. Well, what happens when you take a 3-week vacation with your family, right?
Goose egg.
You get a goose egg, and you're probably going to lose a bunch of your clients and trying to get them back on track, and it's a fucking nightmare. It basically disrupts 2 months of your life, the vacation plus another month or so coming back, and you get no money. And if you happen to get hurt, what happens?
Yep.
Fucked, right? Like,
and that was part of it. Kind of put a more personal touch on it. I put in for some time off, and I was working my ass off right before I left, so I was kind of exhausted going into a vacation, and then coming back working my ass off to kind of replenish that time that I was out. It felt like I needed a vacation right after I had got back from one, just trying to play catch up. So
Yeah, it's just unsustainable. You can't do that when you get into your 40s. That's for sure. You probably couldn't do it in your 30s. And if you're
right.
wise after a few times of that, like, because I was a mechanical engineer for a long time, worked for two Fortune 100 companies, and just if anybody's listening, and I had a little engineering firm that I sold. That was complicated, but I just started out personal training people. Like I started out just getting fit, and I met Greg at a cancer thing. I don't know if you even know that story. There was one affiliate, Dave and Werner in Seattle, who's been long gone. But, I really like Dave, and when you walked in, then it was like you couldn't figure out what was going on. There was nobody to pay. There was no class. There was no fucking. It was just like try the fitness protocol, and the fitness protocol was pretty potent. I just started doing it, got jacked in a few short months, and I just started training people $5 an hour. And I remember raising my rates to 10, and I lost half my clients. Anyway, fast forward 6 months later, and I got the small groups going. I'm personally training. I get kicked out of every fitness center in Vancouver. There was a personal training studio that they allowed me to do my thing for about 6 months. And next thing you know, I'm probably grossing about $8,000 a month. They didn't take very much. I had at least $6,000 take home at that time, and I was like, wow, this is pretty good life.
Yeah.
Well, my aunt dies. I go back home for 2 weeks, which is it's all the way across the country, and I come back and I'm like, holy shit, what happened? I'm broke again, and then I'm scrambling to get every one of these people back. And I'm like, I see now. I see why that life is so unsustainable. But we've done a really terrible job at telling people about our vacation pay thing, and also I've had two coaches. One was on bereavement; he lost his son, Sheppy, right? And we paid him to stay home basically somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 a month for at least 9 months, if not a year. You're never going to see that in this industry anywhere, and we haven't told anybody about those things. I guess they're so private that we didn't bother. And then, another coach who got ill for 9 months, and same thing, 4, 5, 6,000 a month for 9 months, and so. When you figured that out, did you figure that out right away off the thing, or it took a while for that part to kind of sink in?
That part to really, to sink in. It was just because I'd been grinding so long that I didn't even think about long-term effects or being absent that long. Like I was younger and I was a little more invincible, I guess. Had that mindset, and like I won't be out that long. Nothing's gonna happen like that. And lo and behold, it definitely can happen. But my focus is more like, hey, I want to go vacation and I want to go see this person and just kind of keep in touch with people, friends from across the country. But I hadn't been able to do that to the level that I wanted to up until kind of getting a little deeper into the system and figuring that out.
Do you remember the first time you wanted to take a vacation? And did anybody have it figured out at your facility exactly how that vacation pay kind of thing works? Or do you remember when that happened?
Yeah. Like so I still get paid, right? But yeah, we had some learning curve like anything, and just kind of kept to it. And
yeah, it takes a while to figure out the whole system. It all makes complete rational logical sense, but it's kind of like 180 degrees different than what's out there in the world, right?
It is. It's so different. You have to kind of set that to the side and come in with a fresh mindset to really let it sink in and adapt it, because you have these things that have been ingrained in you. For those of us that have been doing it for a long time prior to, I've been 15, 18 years almost. I was like, all right, that doesn't, no, it has to work this way. And we go that path. So you have that like double take or that stutter step a little bit, like, is this okay? Looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
And then it happened. It was like, that money still hit my bank account. Good deal.
So if you had to explain it, like right now I'm redoing our website to explain to people how all this stuff works with a whole bunch of series of short videos instead of like a 2-hour webinar that,
Yeah.
So, if you had to explain it to people at home, how it works for a coach to get quote, quote, vacation pay, how does it work?
So they build their tribe, their recurring revenue. They're in charge of, from the get-go, the first contact through consultation assessment, going through personal training and teaching them everything. And once that system or that kind of gauntlet has been run and they're kind of cleared to move into more of the small group training and the classes there, we we have this recurring revenue, and they're earning a percentage, right? The gym brings them in, hey, you get a set amount. If you bring them in, you're collecting referrals, which over time, you're sticking around, you're going to get more referrals as your referral pool grows. If you're doing a good job, at least, then that percentage bumps up. And once you start collecting more and more referrals, at least in my personal experience, that was the game changer. Like friends of friends is a lot easier than hitting somebody you don't know and they don't know you. You've already got somebody that's in their ear saying, "Hey, come work out with this guy and us at the gym and do the thing." So the word of mouth over time helps you build your pool, and you don't have to go out and cold call or sit at home and dial these numbers, like hoping somebody answers, hoping they'll at least give you the time to listen to you and how you can help your life or whatever.
So then you got the pool. Let's say you got yourself up to 40 clients, and that's gross revenue of $12,000, and you're taking home about $5,000 of that, and you want to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's just say you took a month off. Right now, T-Bear is going to take 6 weeks off. Dashy's taking 2 months off, and I've had coaches like take 3 weeks off. I've taken a month off. I mean, how does it work? How does the math work? How can you get paid and you're not there doing the work?
So when you leave, you're however long you're gone, right? You're saying I'm going to be gone for the month. Whatever your recurring revenue is, right? Say we'll just use the numbers you use. Bringing in 12 grand, kind of gross, and your take is 5. That 5 grand is yours outside of maybe your responsibilities, right? The coaches that are covering any classes that comes out of that, but it's a small percentage, and then or a small cut of that, and you get the rest. You're on vacation. Say it's say you're coaching 8 classes a week, so that's 32 for the month, give or take. That leaves you a pretty good chunk left, and
let's do the math on that real quick.
Not for anything. I was about to pull my calculator out. You got it. Go for it.
Yeah, so it says 30 times 20 is $600. Like let's say it's $700.
Yeah.
So out of that 5,000, you can pay $700 to probably your coworkers, and everybody's trying to help each other out in this co-op. It's like, right, I'll pick up a couple of shifts. I'll pick up a couple of shifts, and we'll just we'll trade it in the future when I want to take a vacation, and you probably get nothing off your fucking check
And we've definitely done that. We've had it to where, and now that's kind of more how we do it, because we've got a good tight knit. When we were early on and going through some of our learning curves, we didn't have it that way. But to that point, I feel like it's more, people feel like they can help out more, and that just kind of strengthens the bond in the team. But I guess there's multiple ways to skin the cat when it comes to that, but we
have some part-time coaches that want extra work. We have some apprentices that are approved to run classes, and they'll pay them, and that gives them good experience. And it's always good to have a nice pool of people to draw from, and the bigger the team, the more cohesion they have.
Yeah, and I think it really depends on who's qualified and who's available, if there's any kind of crossover, right?
Yeah. So take me. So okay, you're working in Wes's gym, CrossFit Austin, and you start off in the Madlab system as a coach. You're about to leave. Take me through what happens next.
He brings on the Madlab, start getting in to the kind of all the learning and the modules. I forgot what it was first called when we started.
Oh, fuck, man, I made a lot of mistakes on those ones.
Anyways, so we start working through those and kind of checking the boxes and moving up, leveling up, so to speak, as we're learning how to some of our management skills and client retention skills, because a lot of people in this industry have the technical, right? They know how to coach the movements and how to help. And for me, kind of how the prehab rehab stuff was a focus, and how to do all that stuff. But the back end and connecting with the clients outside of that hour is really, really a kicker. So learning all that stuff, again, helped me scratch that entrepreneurial itch. About a year later, we were real young in the system, or I was as a coach. when he was looking to sell. So he kind of approached us, myself and Genevieve, who's now my wife, and just said, "Hey, I'm looking at doing this. Want to give you guys the opportunity first, because there's finances involved. So you gotta sign your NDA and just make sure that you can cover and find your finances." So we were able to do that. About 6 to 8 months later, we had the close of the sale and started learning real time on the other side of things as a business owner. And I never thought that was going to happen, especially so soon. But once I got a little deeper, say a year in, my focus went from coaching. I was like, oh, I'm going to be a better coach. I'm going to be a better coach, to I need to be the leader to develop more opportunities for the other coaches here, so they can at least see what I saw and the steps and the developments that I was able to take as a coach in that year to 14, 18 months.
How many how many clients did you have in your book of business when Wes approached you?
Yeah, so we, I would say in terms of personal training, there's about 13 that were somewhat regular, but it wasn't a livable wage for any means.
No.
And some people were personal training 4 times a week.
Yeah.
So
you're still doing personal training, not really this hybrid membership and getting paid a percentage of it and all this stuff.
Prior to, we weren't doing the Madlab model, so I wasn't, I didn't have a recurring revenue or anything there. And then when we went with the Madlab model, there was that kind of that transition phase that you have to go to. Not everybody's going to want that higher ticket, higher value option, right? Yeah. Just like when you increase your PT rates from $5 to $10, you lost half of them. We didn't lose half of our members in the gym at the time, but we definitely saw some turnover because it just wasn't what people were looking for. They wanted those people were hardcore and wanted that classic CrossFit, and that's what it was. So we dealt with it, took our blows, stood back up, and kept moving forward.
So, and then a year after you started, Wes approaches you. Another 6 months after that, you got the sale. What's your revenue like as a coach before you even buy this thing?
So for me, I was in the low 60s from where I was sitting.
So you were making 60 grand a year take home.
Yes, take home.
Wow, that's awesome. So within 18 months, you went from scrounging around about to quit to you're making 60 grand.
Right.
Wow, that's awesome, man. 18 months. And I mean, the pricing structure you had back then compared to now is probably significantly lower.
Night and day. Yeah. I think at the time, 165 was the unlimited. And now we're about to go into a 224 for kind of an unlimited with the base membership of one-on-one hybrid action. So
what is your base? Like one a quarter?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What is your base hybrid membership? One personal training session a quarter?
One per quarter.
Yeah. That's. I mean, we're at the point where we're like, our base is going to move to once every. We still have some legacy people from back in the CrossFit days.
Yeah, we do.
There's still some that are hard to say. Okay, man, this hybrid membership thing. And so they're at that once a quarter. We still have, that's kind of our base, once a quarter. It's got to be 260 in our market. And our rent's fucking out of control. But the median one is going to be one every 6 weeks. And that's like, I don't know, 310 or something like this. And that's a long ways away from where we were as a CrossFit gym, where it was like, the market was at about 150. We were probably at 185. And now we're pretty almost double that. Maybe you can talk a little bit about selling a professional coaching service versus selling a commoditized product.
Right.
Take me down that path for a second.
So, when we were CrossFit Austin, people knew or had their perception of, right? So they were buying what they thought.
Which was?
CrossFit, right? So it took some time to understand the new model with the hybrids and how it was more individualized, but it wasn't just that the 4 hours on your base, right, of one-on-ones with some small group training. there was a connection and basically, you know, a portal from me to you for other areas of your life, and just talking through whether it was, sometimes people just need somebody to talk to. And in this world, we get talked to. It's kind of like the joke about bartenders, right? They're part-time psychologists, and we talk and listen, but we also have that meat and potatoes with people to kind of make that full meal. So it's not just those saucy nights when I was working at the bar talking with people. I mean, that definitely prepped me for those one-on-ones and all these all these conversations. But it was I don't know, eye-opening for a lot of people that never had that or never thought that would be a part of their life, and making that connection with the coach, and they're reaching out and checking on them when they haven't been around. Say it was a week and they're like, oh yeah, my kid got sick or whatever, thanks for checking in. Those little things started adding up, right? And it developed more rapport and more trust. And so they would come to you with other things. In the old model, somebody might have a nagging shoulder injury, but just kind of old hard school, I'm just going to work through it, or just disappear for a while, never really voice those issues to you. Now it's kind of a upfront expectation. Hey, this is part of what we do. It's part of why we're here. And having that kind of built in has definitely helped change the culture, and makes us more well-rounded and more kind of unique in terms of how we fit and keep and hold together, rather than splintering off because Susie had a kid and Joe had a shoulder injury or whatever. So
for the people that are listening, I'm just going to translate a little bit there. In the old model, right, you got paid by the hour and a percentage for personal training. You didn't really own the client.
Right.
So when they didn't show up, it's not really your responsibility, and you're not incented whatsoever to know what's going on for that person's life outside of the gym. Which, if you look at retention, what's going on outside the gym is equally, if not more important than what's going on inside. 100%. And I think that's what our model really rewards, is you got someone that's in the client's corner for life. They're really invested in the success of that client, and the success is life, right? It's not all these PRs and you got to go to the games and stuff. It's just, what do you want in life, and I'm here to help you get what you want in life, right?
And that's something that we said. We like, hey, you're here for 1 hour a day. We want to help you kick ass for 23 hours out there, or whatever the time commitment they were.
Yeah.
But overall, that's what it was.
So, I just ran into some old clients that opened a gym a long time ago, and they're running the old model with the old brand, and there's nothing wrong with that, and it's fine. When I listen to them, they're like, the pandemic really hit them hard, and they're in that model. They're responsible for retention. They're responsible for getting back that client, and the coaches really aren't. The coaches really aren't doing anything there. So I think if you look at it, it becomes like a Dunbar number. That's what I've found. How many relationships can you hold and maintain? Some people get a much higher number than others. I mean, some people it's 0. And I found I could probably hold about 100. And after 100, like you would go crazy even at 100. I think like 50 or 60 done right was kind of where your own life isn't impacted, and there's a certain amount of money there that makes it worth it. In the pandemic, you really saw our model shine for a lot of gyms. Tell us what it was like for you guys when this thing came down.
Yeah, like everybody, it was scary because it was the unknown. I actually had messaged Wes at the beginning of the pandemic and thanked him for bringing us this way. Wow, because if we weren't having those individual touches with the other coaches, who knows what it would have looked like. But I mean, we had some attrition because people lost their jobs or got transferred out, which is understandable. But we did not miss a month of rent, and our rent is not cheap, right? We're in the 6 figures. It's just we're growing towards what Vancouver is, and so that was kind of a eye opener of saying, okay, we could be mobile if we wanted to, right? Most of our people don't want that. They don't want the online training. They loved it and appreciated it as a stopgap, but just having that camaraderie and that one-on-one check-in with their coach kept them around. It kept them honest. It kept them upbeat. Some people, their coach was really one of the only few people that ever checked on them throughout that. They didn't have a lot of family, or they were working from home in a tech industry anyways, and they didn't see a lot of people. So having that outlet and that connection was by far a huge helping point for us.
Well, can you imagine if you had to be the one calling everyone and keeping the relationship with every single client you got? I think you'd pack it in. That's why so many of the gyms
do it, but that would have been like taking a full circle back to where I was going to quit and go my own way anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Stu Brower just put something. Stu's a friend, and I did his podcast a while ago. He put stuff out to stir the pot, and he put out, what happens if you lose a coach or two? You're going to be right back in there again, and like that. He doesn't quite understand our model. He thinks it's just PT first, but I explained to him. I said, listen, there's 9 laws. PT first is just 2 of them, right? And the coach compensation piece is, I mean, you could do all that PT first and hybrid memberships all you wanted. If it wasn't for the coach compensation and coach development, it all falls apart, right?
Falls apart. Yep.
Yeah.
You gotta have it all kind of all the ingredients, I guess. Right. Yeah. We do barbecue down here, and we do it differently than other people. But if you don't have your seasoning right, the meat can go bad. But you get bad meat, you get some good seasoning. Hey, you can kind of change it up a little bit.
That's how I grew up. All right, so let's just talk a few numbers. I know I prepped you. Yeah. And one of the big things coming down the pipe for Madlab, so we're doing it right now. We're actually doing this. I highly encourage you when you get. I remember throwing it out at you. Greg Mack's Rainmaker 301, the team building and leadership. Man, it is blowing our minds right now. We thought we were a pretty good team. We were a pretty good group, right? I mean, all of our coaches are making the 60 to 80. There's a couple that are making 50, but they're sort of part time. And, the top guy is making over 100. And, we have guys that have been there for more than 15 years. And you got 5 of them being there more than 10. And, in my mind, we were the dream team. Tom's been bugging me to do this. And I was bugging him to do it. And now he's like, we need to do it. And we're in there. We're 4 or 5 weeks in. And you can see all the little things, all the cracks and ugly flaws and, weeds growing through the thing. Because I've been out doing Madlab group for 7 years as well, right? And one of the things that really struck me is in our own gym, we're not tracking the 6 KPIs, right?
Right.
And for the people at home, 6 key performance indicators. So a client has to win, a coach has to win, a gym owner has to win. That's the philosophy. Out there in the world, it's pretty much the guy who's selling the business license or the franchise license and the 2-day cert or the franchise or whatever, they win first. And the coaches never win, and the gym owner might or might not win. The clients are going to leave, and that's just a fact. That's how it works, right? So for the clients to win, I remember we were looking at Tim. We looked at everything at one point, thinking all this fitness rating and shit would make a difference. And people would nail the fitness rating and leave anyway. I'm like, what good was that? So if the client's sticking around, retention, and they're paying you lots of money for high value service, I think that's a win, right? Coach pay. So total coach pay, we know in our market, if they can make $80,000, they're going to stick around for at least 10 years, maybe 20. We have a housing crisis here that's fucked this all up for us, big time here. But if they're working their ass off and don't have any vacation pay, then that's not going to work either. So dollar per coach hour, if you can get them up over $50, $60 per hour on the floor. Our top guys, Tom makes over $100 an hour when he's on the floor. You got a chance to win. And then at the end of the day, if the business needs to make profit, everybody needs to be paid, and your target's 20% EBITDA, right? And then when you want to exit, like Wes did, you pay 5 times EBITDA. Should all work. Right? Okay. Yep. You ready for a few numbers?
Okay.
Now, this is all, the pandemic's been over in Texas for a year. Right?
Yeah.
I love Texas. They're still going on with it here. Jesus Christ, I think I've had COVID once. I think I had it twice, and I've been triple vaccinated. Like,
what more can you do?
Time to move on. Time to move on, boys. If someone's going to die now, then I'm sorry, but, stay at home, whatever. Anyway, the pandemic's still going on here. I know in Texas it's been gone for a bit.
Right.
So your numbers hopefully have recovered.
They have. We took a good little chunk, but like I said, we were able to pay our bills. Coaches were still making some money. Um, we have been. Let's see. I pulled them up from where we finished last year in 20 to where we're at finishing in 2021. We were able to come back up damn near 40%. We're at 38.7% for our overall gross. Um,
Nice.
so dice that up in terms of how we pay out the coaches with their recurring revenue, PTs. Two of them have specialty programs that are very strong and just additional sources of income for them and the gym as well. So we've bounced back and we're on track. Granted, we're 2.5 months in, but we're on track to go up probably another 30 to 40% if we maintain where we're at currently.
Okay, and where are you at right now? Do you mind if I ask you what the gross revenue number is?
Yeah, we finished at 384 last year.
Okay.
And so we were 270 the year before. And that's about where it was when we took over. We took over at the end of 17, and then we had some turnover. Not everybody was on board with, new leadership that happens when you have a change at the top. And what we realized is when that happened, we lost some people. It opened up. We kept our people, our coaching people, but people that were, old guard and they were loyal to Wes, and they were just kind of like, okay, I'm over this. I'm gonna try something new. But when your hands are full, you can't take anything new, right? So we lost some, and we were able to replace with better fits for what we were doing and kind of the direction that we wanted to go. We believed in it. We stayed true to it. Been loyal, and yeah, now we're sneaking on that $500,000 is what we're looking for.
$500,000. You should be able to do that this year.
Mark.
How many square feet is your space?
We have 6,800 square feet. And if I were to redo it, I would not have such a large office space.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on out there.
We've got a large office space. I'm in kind of the smaller middle office. It's one bay, and there's kind of our janitor's closet in there. But we have our big office space and lobby, so to speak, out there. And I would minimize that because it's not usable space.
It's not producing anything.
It's not producing anything, and it's not adding value to what people come here for.
Yeah, I mean, tearing down that stuff is a lot less expensive than building it up, and it
is.
I've gotten rid of all that. We have a tiny little space that that in the lounge that the coaches kind of use and decompress with, and then the rest of it's all producing some dollar per square foot. Okay, so we're $500,000 coaches. How many full-time coaches have we got besides you and G?
Besides us, there are 2 other full-times, and we've got a gal that's moving in the end of April, which she just finished her doctorate of physical therapy and has some aspirations there. But she's definitely kind of on the coach track, and that's where her focus is at. So
that's awesome. Tell me a little bit about your first 2 coaches. How are they doing?
Yeah, the first 2, they're doing well. They're in their 3rd year here. And what I got down, I've got some general numbers from Q4 to 2020 to Q4 to 2022. They both different numbers, but they both had a 22% increase, 21.9% increase in take-home pay. So that was part of kind of the overall growth of the gym. They were the big drivers of that.
So yeah, so where do you want to? Let's talk about year 3 and year 5 from now. Where do you want to be? What does this thing look like?
I want them to meet their goals and their dreams. Like one of our coaches, she wants that 40 to 45 client range and to stay there. She's got a good prenatal postpartum program, and she's got some massage therapy that she does in the gym. And so managing that feels comfortable for her and sustainable for her. She's got a young kid at home, and that's where she wants, right? So
that should allow her to have 60,000 take home, probably around there.
Right. That's kind of her goal, right? And what she wants.
And she'd be working less than 20 hours a week on the floor with that, right?
Yes. Yeah. About 18 right now. So 18 to 21 is probably average. And then another guy's a little bit younger. He's grinding. He's kind of more. He's got Tom in his sights, so watch out, Tom. And you know Dylan. He's
Yeah,
he's a
I
beginner,
love
so
Dylan. Dylan's
he's
great.
blowing up his specialty program as well. Youth strength and conditioning. He's a weightlifting background guy.
Yeah,
Grew up under a national coach and has taken some kids to nationals in the weightlifting world.
that's cool.
And so he kind of more of the functional fitness stuff was newer to him, and some of the movements that we do in some of the different classes, but he's able to soak it up and practice, and he's really good with his communication and his retention work. So he's blown up as well.
I was gonna say, so he probably wants to get more to the 70, 80 grand thing at some point here.
Yeah, I think six figures is his goal.
Is that right?
Coming from Tom, but yeah, I think that's gonna be.
This is Dylan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I used to do the coffee shop with that guy. There was a time where I had a brief moment where I could get back in with the coaches and not working on our infrastructure and
Right.
all this stuff. And yeah, I really dug that guy. Yeah, tell him I said hi.
I will do.
Yeah.
He's staying fired up. That's
Yeah,
that's
he's a
his
couple
goal.
years in now, right?
Yeah, both of them are in their third year. They'll this summer will kind of come to start their fourth year.
Yeah. So yeah, Dylan's got the sights set on 100,000. He knows exactly how hard he's got to work and what numbers he's got to hit. And once you get there, managing probably 60 clients, making that 100 take home, and you're working 25 hours a week consistently, maybe 30 when you get busy with new clients and stuff like this, right?
I would say, yeah, he's a little higher on just because he's pushing right now, and he's with those other two. If you're going to count those in, I mean, the specialties, I know they don't count the same, but with those, he's on the floor a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, shit, man. If you remember your days when I was starting my business, the first 2 or 3 years, you're hungry as shit. I was doing 45, 47 hours a week. I could do that I was 33 when I started, and I did that probably 3 or 4 years until I didn't want to get out of bed for a week. It's like, okay, I hit my limit here. And then you slowly settle down. I mean, Sheppy and T now, they're in the 50s. Well, T's almost 50. Sheppy's same age. He's going to be 51. And yeah, the old dogs, they're still doing it. I need to figure out a way to keep them until they're 60, but maybe I can get them some online stuff with Madlab Group and they can retire to a small town, because this city's tough, man. The average house here is $2 million, and that's a shithole. I mean, that is not something you'd ever want your kid to live in.
No, we're coming behind you, but we're trending that way.
Yeah, the whole world with this pandemic stuff. Couple of questions for you. If you were ripping along, say in Wes, Wes left because he left the city and he couldn't manage the thing, right? He's a real estate agent. He went to another town. Well, let's say it was a different setup and you had an owner you really was there for the long haul and you could really learn from him and trust him, and you were making that 80 to 100,000. Do you think you ever would have opened your own gym?
No, if I would have been content with the direction that I was going at the time. I had started, I'm in Texas, so I'll give you a little background. My grandfather had cattle, and one Christmas, I'd finally saved up enough money to buy a cow, and he let me put that cow on his property. And he didn't charge me money, right? So I didn't get the full business learning, but I was 10 years old. And so from that time, we started taking the calves to the cattle sale, and I started building money back then. So learning kind of the long game and stocking money away allowed me to, I guess, find that entrepreneurial itch early on. Fast forward all that, we built it into my brother and I buying our first place that we lived. It was a condo, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So I was stable. I was good to go.
You funded that from the cow business?
From cattle, and then cattle just went into some stocks and everything else, right?
Oh man, that's a great story.
Yeah, went in at the right time because I went to school, took a 3-year hiatus, and worked at a bar, and then finished school. And when I was finishing school, the '08 crisis was happening, and I just decided to go Warren Buffett on it and put stuff into the stock market there. And that's just, I had built up over the years some business savvy and some kind of some savings, that was a little bit more liquid. I can move it around. So it really allowed me to not have to work on the coaching full time, but I wanted to work on it. Right. So it was more that passion that allowed me to go there. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but all that to say, I would have been very fine staying as a coach and doing that full time, because of the little side stuff I had allowed me to do the entrepreneurial stuff from an owner standpoint. I didn't need to go and own a gym, suffice it to say, because I was getting the interactions, I was getting the work and the application of the knowledge over the years out to people that I'd wanted to do. That's how I wanted to help. My mom and both grandmothers were teachers, and this is our classroom to teach in. So
I love hearing when you get good people that have good solid foundations in life. It usually comes from a good family, and I see the people that do well in this system. You can just smell it off of them, of that good family upbringing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just as a note to you, one of the things we learned from doing this podcast, you should go back, and if you go into our madlabgroup.com and you go into the blog, there's 2 podcasts that are there. One was a couple that's been with us for just a couple of years. They joined us during the pandemic. You can just smell it off of them. Good upbringing, good parenting and smart people and stuff. Patrick and Sarah, I loved their conversation with them. And then I had Nick Penizzato, who was like a street kid almost. He's made it happen himself, and Tom loves that podcast. So there's all kinds of people here. We tend to attract people from all over, but I gotta think it leans a little more to the right in the thinking and the politics. Not super far right, but just a slight bit over here. We have a lot of Texans, a lot of Southerners. We have a certain amount of Christians, and then I have atheists. And it's funny, when you've been in a room, you're probably quite Christian, no?
Yeah, I had a Christian upbringing, and we have all kinds of people here in Austin, Texas, right? We're a good mixed pot here, and so we do hear a lot of different views, but it's nice to be able to talk and not just like fire off and hit, right? So
yeah, no, that whole side of things I've tried to stay away from, because what we're doing is just math, really, and it's relationships. And Audrey likes to say it's just the right math to allow you to have deep relationships, to allow you to be everybody to be successful. If I gotta sort of stop that up. So when Wes sold you the gym, you bought it. When you were doing the math on the sale and that, it was sort of the 5 times profit number you're looking at. So I remember consulting to you guys for a while, and then I was like, hey, I can only put out the math, and it's sort of a negotiation back and forth. How did the sale go?
And that was the basis of it. I think he kind of as the real estate world that he was getting into saw this growing. So he probably, his the work that he had done in building kind of a foundation. There was a lot of goodwill in that, and understanding. So for me, I was okay going on a little bit on the higher side, because Genevieve and I had put in a lot of work over the years, whether it was that last 12 to 18 months in the Madlab system where it got deeper, but just the time and the blood and the sweat grind. And before that, it was like, I don't want to lose this, right? And things that have been around. So there was a core that we wanted to keep. And so I was okay kind of going a little bit higher, because I saw the potential, as I kind of opened, or he allowed me to look behind the scenes when we're going through the sale. So we based it off the 5 times EBITDA, and it was probably a little bit higher for us. But we've been able to cover our base, and we're riding pretty now. So
good to hear that. I kind of thought that is how it went down, and I'll tell you something you should feel good about. I've seen good sales in our Madlab model, and I've seen not so good sales. And the good sales, I quantify as the gym gets better and better and better, and it becomes irrelevant what the price really was.
Right.
And the bad ones are the people buying it grind the old owner into and it's just the mindset of that doesn't allow them to be successful in the future. But when I see the the immediate mindset, the grind. It's I usually see them quit Madlab within a few months, and then I see some disaster shortly after. You know.
There you have.
Yeah.
We were amicable, and I messaged him and thanked him for taking us to Mad Lab again during the beginning of the panty. And then when things opened back up, we were able to go and kind of hang out and eat. We met, Genevieve and myself went and met with Wes and had lunch with him and just kind of shared our journey from when we took over to where we were at now and through the pandemic, at least the shutdown portion of it. And yeah. So he's still down in San Antonio. That's part why he sold the gym. That was a long drive as it was, but as this area got more populated, that long drive got longer with increased traffic. And
it'll torture your life. And you look at the industry. I don't know. Madlab gyms tend to not worry about who's around them or what's going on, and here's the new marketing thing, or here's the new piece of software that's going to solve all your problems, or here, we kind of get insulated from that world. You find that happens?
Yeah, there's people still searching for that magic pill to lose all the weight, right?
Yeah.
And for the same thing, for that analogy for business, they're still looking for that one thing. But yeah, I feel like we've had people that were the old school CrossFit, classic CrossFit that went away. They're like, oh, that's not what we're doing here anymore. Left and come back, and that's really cool to see come full circle. They go get injured because for whatever reason they don't have the same kind of attention from the coach or the way the programming, they're whatever, right?
Yeah, it's a combination.
Or some of that connection and that more individual kind of connection from that coach and attention from that coach.
So if you had to, like, one of the criticisms we get, which is a good criticism, okay with it now, we used to skirt around it. I realize we really are only for high-performing people that have a good, solid basis in reality, and their 2 feet are on the ground, and they're ready to do some hard work, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be handed to you by any means.
No.
Got to go get it.
Yeah, you follow the fundamentals every day. You're not worried about all those trends out there. So the criticism we get is it's hard. And when people ask me that, I go, what's hard is you're 5 years in, you can't make ends meet, you don't see any future ahead of you, and you just lost a bunch of clients and another coach quit. That's fucking hard. I mean, setting it up, it's easy to set up. Pay the franchise fee, get a 2-day fucking, get a 2-day course, let people come in right into a group class, and then hire a kid and pay them $15 an hour. It's easy. That is easy. But
right.
If you had to talk to someone about, really someone sitting there listening to this thing going, it's not easy to understand what we do, but if you had to summarize it and say what your life is like now versus what it looked like back then, what would you say?
I would say we've been able to streamline from where we started, and I felt like I was very scattered. But, having a different role and different responsibilities, just acclimating to that, kind of diving in and learning the aspects of those, the role. And we went the route of we've got our weekly meetings with our CFLs, our full-time coaches, but having them go through the JA and the SA programs, had somebody else hold them accountable and not just somebody that's like, oh, so to speak, the boss are writing the checks. It's good to have those other ears and see other people across the country or the world that are going through certain struggles, or maybe they realize that it's very, very well set up already here, right? When they're stepping in. So I'm a tangent person, but overall, I would say we have more clarity for how we want it to run versus when we first started. And we've got a little bit of a better kind of refinement of the systems that have been put in place. We've realized that if we can help those other coaches and take that mindset, it pays for itself, right? Our time invested in them, I guess to clarify more, I used to be worried about giving ownership to somebody else or that client, because forever it was me and I had to do it, and I was in the weeds with the person. Is that person doing it like I was doing it? Is it as good as I was doing it? Is it to the level? But they have to have their own kind of growing pains, and guiding them through that, and having gone through it myself, and having had you guys as mentors, and then being able to relay that to them in a day-to-day basis, and then they get the check-ins with the JA or SA, wherever they're at, has really helped us sink into where we're at to trail or blaze our trail. So
You feel good about the future?
I think we're on a steady path here, Patty.
I like it, buddy.
Coming out of the painting, I wasn't sure, like, all right, what's this going to look like? Because everybody's talking about, oh, it's going to be online, the future's online.
Yeah.
I didn't personally want to coach. I didn't enjoy all the FaceTime. My eyes, I don't do a whole lot of screen time, but my eyes were freaking out, and I had some twitches going on from too much screen time. Like, this is not healthy for me, and not what I want to do. So I was very, very excited to be able to get back into the gym and get with people. I know there's parts of the world that are still, having to deal with some of that, and feel for those folks. I can't wait till they can get back in and feel that, because it's still there. People still want that connection, and that's what this system's about: connecting and finding those holes in people's lives that you can help.
Yeah, feel good about what you're doing, and not be overworked and overwhelmed, and be able to support the people that your team, and they're not overworked and overwhelmed, and then they can take care of the clients who are not overworked and overwhelmed. Okay, buddy, we're getting up there in time. I got two more quick ones.
Okay.
Number one, this is, we decided before we put this on, we're going to be as honest and open as possible, and you can't say anything wrong, and you can't hurt me or nothing. You've been through Madlab in 2016, so that was probably our worst era. 2017, 18. We tried to go acoustic to digital, or it was like we were doing a lot of hands-on work with gym owners and coaches in the trenches, and somehow I can't believe I did it. And look back on it, we did the same thing. We tried to automate everything and make it not relationship based, make it not hands on, and it was like the machine was going to take care of everything. We put an enormous amount of money into technology, and it was horrible. Finally, Carl Brenton came and begged me to get back to everybody's got to do a monthly one-on-one with their gym owner, coach, and all this kind of stuff. And it took me forever to disband that system. It took me almost a year to get rid of that web hub and all that stuff. And it was, cost me almost $1 million, that mistake. And we didn't have $1 million to give away. So you came through some generations here.
Yeah.
Where we're at now, I know you're just getting back with Audrey and you're doing the one-on-ones. If you had to give me one piece of advice or multiple pieces of advice on how we can get better, how can Madlab get better at doing what it needs to do?
I think having experienced, as you said, multiple iterations of this system, I think right now where I'm at, you alluded to it, I kind of went away once that mentor coach network and the small group meetings, that one-on-one that Carl was probably talking about, kind of left. I kind of fell off as well. We were still hosting our meetings. They were the coaches were still in the SA or JA programs, but me personally, just kind of doing my own thing, right, and more managing in terms instead of trying to grow. And part of that is just the headache and like the stress that I put on myself with the pandemic, and what is all this this new Austin? What are all these kind of feelings about that? And but then my wife and I had the birth of our son, so my focus kind of went away from growth and everything, and just kind of like, oh, we're good, we're holding the line basically. And so part of my my repledge to Audrey and making sure that we get on these is getting back to that growth for these coaches and for the next coach that's looking to come on, because that's our role now, or that's my role now, in Genevieve's role. So I think, did I answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, you answered it in that, you went away there and we shouldn't have let you go away. I thank you for not quitting on us during that period of time. I really appreciate that.
Well, and I'll say this. I knew I had, if it was on me to go and take the initiative to reach, I knew I had resources, right? I just was not using those resources. And I was in a spot where I was okay with that. But yeah.
I'm stoked you're getting back on with Audrey. She's been absolutely amazing. Like, she is my wife, but the amount that she's worked and the amount of effort she's put in, and man, she just sees it as her responsibility that I tell her it's almost too much for her to take, but she's going to make sure that you get exactly what you need, and you can, like, she's got people texting her at any time saying, fuck, I got this. And, she's got regular meetings and this kind of thing, but she's done a really, really great job of absorbing all of my bullshit over the last 12 years. And, she was an apprentice coach herself. She went through the whole apprentice coach program herself. She got trained by Gigi for 2 years, and then she's been doing this on her own for 4. So I think you're gonna really like the experience there over time. Yeah.
We had our first one about 10 days ago. We got our next one coming up on Tuesday. So I'm excited. I'm a little in a better place personally to put some time and focus into it.
That's great, man. That's great. Well, Tim, thanks a lot for all your support, all your love. This is 7 years you're with us, I guess. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome, man. All right, brother. I'm going to be coming to Texas.
Come on.
Yeah.
When you coming?
It's looking like sometime in May.
Okay.
Early to mid.
Okay.
So I'll give you a jingle. We're going to go down there and audit, do the full. We're looking at the full package of going down and audit gyms and do the full overhaul with them and give them a plan, like in-person thing that I'm pilot projecting. Pilot projecting? Yeah. Anyway, along with that, I got one of my best friends at university lives in Dallas, and we'll make it to Austin and all this stuff.
Texas two-step.
I still got the videos. Those videos from the summit, man, of you and Genevieve.
I was just standing there looking pretty. She did all the work.
Well, you did a good job of looking pretty, buddy. I'll tell you. All right, man. Thanks a lot. I love you. I can't wait to see you, buddy.
Can I have the old call? Can I have the old call?
Oh.
There we go. All right.
Next time we do this, we should have a few drinks and get some guns.
Oh, let's do it.
I'm down, baby. I'm down.
Later, man. We'll see ya.
Later, buddy.